Hi everybody, welcome, like she said, to the our webcast. Today we're going to be talking about our Directo 3 liftgate charging system. That is the charging system that runs off of the 7-way, which you'll use and are familiar with, I think. So we're going to talk today about kind of what that looks like, a little bit of background on it, how it works, and then really get into a few of the key troubleshooting items that we see come up and a few things to check whenever you come into a notice a problem or see a certain thing with the LED, a certain flash code. So let's go ahead and get started. And like Celia said, if you got any questions, please submit them. We'll try to answer them during the presentation or right when we finish up. So just a little background. Whenever we first started this liftgate charging system, there were four main issues that fleets were facing with their liftgates and their liftgate batteries. The first one is that they were often far from the power source. You've got this 53-foot trailer running off the tractor with the liftgate batteries trying to get charged back there. You get voltage drop in those cables, especially with the system. Well, when we're running off the 7-way, that's kind of the main thing that we see going on, and we'll talk a little bit more later on about how to recognize that and what to do about it when it happens. So that was the first issue. The second thing was vehicles aren't in operation long enough to charge them. So you've got these fleets that are running like yourselves from pretty close location to pretty close location, don't have a lot of runtime in between, use their liftgate quite a bit at each stop. So there's just not enough time to get those batteries up to full charge. And when you're cycling those batteries as deep as they were getting cycled, you don't get much battery life out of them, and the result is you're spending money changing batteries a lot, or you're getting a lot of road calls. Third thing is poor diagnostic procedures to detect defective charging systems. So this is not knowing if there's a problem with the trailer, with the tractor, with that system itself. And even when our first system came out, not being able to look at it and say, this is working, this is not, this is what our battery state of charge looks like. So that was one thing that we really sought to remedy and sought to make easier on both the technicians and the drivers. Fourth thing is the wrong type of batteries being used for liftgates. You really need a deep cycle, heavy duty battery for these liftgates. If you've got the wrong kind of battery in there, it's not going to have the cycle life, it's not going to have the capacity to really withstand the issues and the tough conditions that those liftgate batteries operate under. So those are the four main things that we saw moving into this market with this system. Four things that we sought to remedy. So we'll talk a little bit more about how we do that and what to do if there's an issue. So our direct charging system is the one that you all use. We all use specifically the Directo 3 off the 7-way, and the direct is a single source liftgate charging system. It allows the operator to choose the power source. So in this case, the 7-way, we also have the one running off the dual pole or the single pole. The direct system improves the charging of liftgate batteries by utilizing the DC to DC converter, which is that piece in the battery box, boosts the voltage to allow the liftgate batteries to get charged at a higher voltage amount. Just a little overview. The battery or the controller that you see there, which is what the LED lights are on, it's really the brains behind the operation. It is designed to do certain things depending on the voltage of those liftgate batteries, and we'll talk about that specifically and in detail here in a second. But that's really what we're going to be focusing on today, is what those LEDs are telling us, what the different blink codes mean, how to diagnose your system based on what you're seeing there at the front of the trailer in that controller. I've just been told to speak up a little bit, so hopefully I'm doing all right. The direct indicator box, like I said, it runs off of a single source. Those options are the dual pole, the single pole, or the 7-way, which is the system that we're going to be talking about today that y'all use, running off that 7-way. So whenever we're looking at the direct box, that controller box in the front of the trailer, you've got your two LED lights. You've got your liftgate side and your source side. All right, so we're going to focus on the liftgate battery LED first, and specifically what that light is telling us whenever it's blinking certain ways. So the slow flashing green means the liftgate batteries have more than 12.4 volts. It means they're operating at a good state of charge. They may not be perfect, but they are good to go. And once you start that system up and start driving, it should be charging anyway. So if it's a 12.4, it'll be able to get up a little higher. That's all it's telling you is that you're good to go. System's operational, ready to hit the road. If you've got a flashing orange, that means that it is a 12.39 in between that and 6 volts. So that tells you that those batteries are low. There might be a problem with the system where it's not charging. It might be that those batteries have been sitting for a really long time. Whatever the case, that's just telling you, hey, there's something going on here. I'm flashing at you, letting you know there's a problem, that I'm low. Check it, check the batteries. We recommend you charging them before you're sending that tractor out or that trailer out to make deliveries. That's when an issue can come up. If you are looking at that, this is where we really get into the diagnostics. If you're looking at that light and you're seeing that there is a rapid flashing orange, so normally it's just nice, slow, calm. Even if it's orange, just letting you know that they're low. If it starts flashing rapidly, that's signaling that you've got a blown circuit, blown fuse in there. So within that, I'm pointing at the screen, but within that box, there are the two 30 amp fuses. So that's just telling you that the 30 amp fuse is blown on that ground side, and you need to go in there, change that out. They're just little, actually we've changed those on the new systems to MIDI fuses. They were maxi fuses before, but either way, very easy to switch those out. But yeah, that's when you see that rapid flashing orange, open that up, change out that fuse, and then you want to look along that circuit, try to figure out, why is that blowing? Is there something going on? Is there just a random surge of energy? Was whatever it might be? But that's when you start kind of looking at what could have caused this to happen. Maybe start that truck up, see if it happens again. If you see no lights, that's just telling you the system is either off. So you need to go and check the batteries. Maybe we've actually seen them where they've been disconnected for some reason or turned off when people have switches in the battery box. So it could be that they're are just disconnected. It could be that there's a break in that line, but there's no power getting up there. So there's some issue going on along that side. We also have a 2 amp fuse back there. Maybe that 2 amp fuse is blown. So those are a few key things to check. The main thing to know is that orange wire is not getting power up to the battery or up to the controller. So there's got to be something on there. So checking along that circuit is your first go ahead on that diagnostic. On the source side, we have that same LED, and the green and the orange flashing are telling you the same thing as on the liftgate side. So if you're flashing green, just a slow flashing green, it tells you that your source is good. You're plugged into your tractor, just saying, all right, I see the batteries there, everything's good to go, we should be ready to rock. If we see a slow flashing orange, it's telling you that we're not getting the voltage there. So right now on the source side, we need 11 volts. If you're getting slow flashing orange, that means that voltage has dropped below 11 volts. So looking at the tractor side there, looking to replace a fuse up at the front. If you have, well, I'm getting ahead of myself. We've got a couple steps. Rapid flashing orange means the same thing. That fuse within the controller has blown. So slow flashing green, you're good to go. Slow flashing orange means that there is a voltage problem, either low on the liftgate batteries or low on the tractor side. And the fast flashing orange, that rapid flashing orange, means that the fuse in there on that side is blown. So those are the three basic flash codes. If you don't see a source LED, means that there is not any voltage getting to the control box. You just want to turn on that tractor and see if it detects voltage back at that box. If it doesn't, then it could be that you're getting no power there. So it might be the circuit within the truck. It might be the 7-way pigtail coming out of the truck, or it might be that there's something within the direct box that's not getting that signal, that's not receiving that. So those are your things to check. Sorry, I'm going to run forward one more. I'm going to go back here for just a second. I thought that there was more of a diagnostic on this one here. So with this, and we'll talk about this more when we talk about the voltage drop diagnostic, but when you're seeing this, that your circuit has dropped below 11 volts, you're going to look for a few things. You're going to look for a bad pigtail. That's a pretty common issue that we see with that blink code whenever you're getting low voltage. Also, could be a bad circuit within the truck. So you're looking at those fuses and at any breakers that are in that truck, making sure that they are locked and ready to go. Make sure those fuses aren't blown. So really, that's your focus on that circuit. It's just telling you that there's something going haywire there. So once you start the tractor, if everything's going well, you should see two green LEDs, solid green LEDs. That tells you that everything is good to go. Everything's okay. Take off the yard. One thing to note, if the liftgate battery voltage is flashing that slow orange, meaning that those batteries are a little below 12.4. Let's say you've checked them, they're 12.35. You're comfortable with that, leaving the yard for maybe there's 2 stops and they're going back. I don't know the situation, but let's say you turn that truck on, the source light will go solid green. That liftgate light will keep flashing that slow orange until those liftgate batteries get above 12.4. So if you see that solid green source light, that system is on, it is working. It just may be that those liftgate batteries are low, so that liftgate light is not going to turn solid green until it goes above 12.4. So just something to note, if you plug this in and it doesn't immediately, the liftgate light doesn't immediately go orange or green, it's just that the batteries are low. Once they get above that 12.4 level, they'll turn solid green. So this is the big blink code that we hear a lot about, and that kind of confuses a lot of people, not sure what to do. So what will happen is you plug in that pigtail, and you'll see both lights go green, and then you'll see it start flashing back and forth orange really rapidly. And then it will go green again for a second, and then it'll flash back and forth orange again, and it'll keep doing that. All right, so what it's doing is it's turning on. It's saying there's good voltage on the tractor side. It's pulling that voltage, the load coming through from the DC to DC converter is pulling that voltage through, and when that load is applied, you're getting voltage drop. So our system was saying good voltage from the tractor, now it's saying not good voltage, so it's that flashing orange is it resetting itself. So then it's going to go back solid green again because it sees the good voltage. Now if there's no load, and then it pulls load again, it drops. So all that's telling is there's voltage drop along that circuit. So we're going to talk about a few things to check right off to make sure that, or to best fix that, or to best diagnose that. So first thing you do is check the nose box. So you want to check all the connections within the nose box. You want to make sure that everything's good on the connection to the trailer, on the connection to the tractor. Make sure that that receptacle on the tractor is getting the voltage that it needs at that point. Make sure that pigtail is still good. And a lot of times whenever people will say, I checked the pigtail, everything's good. We'll ask how they checked it. Either they put a test light in there or they put a multimeter in the end of that pigtail. And they said, I got good voltage. It's 13.2, whatever it is. Until you pull that load, that voltage is still going to be good. So as long as you can't just, stick that light in there or whatever. It's going to read good voltage. That test light pulls about 0.2 amps. So it's really not telling you anything except that there's something there. Okay, it's not going to be enough for our system. So you need to pull it under load of some sort. We have a tool that pulls a 20 amp load that allows you to test that circuit under load. If there's something else, I know some shops have rigged up their own type thing, whatever it is, but you need to test that circuit under load to make sure that it is operating correctly and getting the voltage that it needs back there. Make sure your circuit breakers inside the nose box are rated at 30 amps. So especially like on the Philips nose boxes, a lot of times you'll get those breakers that are 20 amp breakers, and our system will be hooked up on the not hot side, on the protected side, right? Since that's a 20 amp breaker, our system can pull a max of 25, 27 amps. So whenever it gets pulled through that circuit, it's going to freak out. It's going to cut itself off. Sorry, I'm getting distracted by somebody said I'm frozen. So hopefully I've stopped. So when it gets pulled through that circuit breaker, it's going to freak out. It's going to try to reset itself. So what we recommend at that point is to take that wire and move it over to the hot side of that circuit breaker. Our system is protected both at the battery box and at the controller, so you don't have to worry about our system messing up or our system breaking or burning up or whatever it is, burning up a system. So just move that over to the non-protected side, to the hot side, and you should be good to go. That should solve your problems. So as I mentioned before, check the 7-way cable. Make sure that it's green, which is a rated ABS cable that can handle the voltage, that can handle what it needs to. Check the connections between the 7-way on the truck, the cable itself, and the receptacle at the trailer. And make sure that the length of the 7-way doesn't have damage on it. There's not cuts, it's not, there wasn't any corrosion that got in there, something like that that's going to cause voltage drop along that cable. And like I said, when you're testing that, make sure you're testing it under load. You're not just sticking a test light in there and saying, oh, I got a light, we're good to go. So that's the key part of that. So we've tested the nose box, we've tested the 7-way cable and those connections. Third thing we're going to check is check the tractor. Okay, so if your nose box is good, your cable's good, look at the tractor. The fuse on that tractor, make sure that it's rated at 30 amps. Just like with the fuse in the nose box, if it's at 20 amps, it's not going to let our system work how it's supposed to. It's going to freak out. So that's the first key, is making sure that it is above 30 amps, so that we're good to go. If you've got a manual reset breaker, make sure that it's reset, and make sure that it's rated correctly. If it's set too low, it's going to be popping all the time. And third thing, look at the integrity of the whole circuit. We've encountered certain trucks that just don't have the capacity on their harness or whatever it is to put out the power that we need to get our system to function. That is an issue a lot on older trucks, or maybe there's something that got in there, there's a break in a wire or some corrosion that got in there, and it can put out the 7 volts or so that your LED lights might need, but it's not going to put out enough for our system. Making sure that you can almost view our system as first line of defense for the ABS as well. If you're not putting out enough voltage for our system, there's a chance that that's voltage is way too low. So checking those 3 things on the tractor are key. So we've got the nose box, the 7-way cable and those connections, and then thirdly checking the tractor. Those are where we see most of the issues when it comes to voltage drop, those specific key areas. Now, there are certain times when you can get something that's real weird that doesn't fall into one of those categories, but if that's the case, we are right there alongside you, and you can give us a call and we can try to help you figure out what exactly that is. So those are the key things that we want to talk about today. Just kind of going over real quick. What is this Direct03? How does it work? What are the main diagnostic issues that we see? How can those be addressed quickly and efficiently? So with the LED lights, green means good. See it flashing orange. Slow means that you're just not getting the voltage. Fast means there's a blown fuse. And if you get that rapid flashing back and forth, we're looking at voltage drop along that system. And we've got those 3 things to check in that case. We've got the nose box to check, and we've got the 7-way cable itself and those connections, and finally checking the tractor and that system to make sure the integrity of that system isn't compromised. So those are the main things with our system. Now this is hopefully not too drawn out. Hopefully I didn't repeat myself too much. If there are any questions, now is a perfect time. So thanks a lot. Thank you for the reminder. I forgot the question panel was down here on mine. If you have a rapid flashing orange and the fuses are good. Thanks for your question, Kenneth. So if you have a rapid flashing orange and the fuses are good, it could be that if it's on the liftgate side, it could be something back in the battery box. If it's on the truck side, it could be something on the tractor. Really, what that's telling you when you have a rapid flashing orange, the indication is we're looking at there and what we've programmed in is that there's voltage, but there's something compromising the voltage getting to the system. There's some sort of damage either along that line or with the fuse. So if the fuse is good, there's going to be something along that line that's hindering the voltage getting there. There's going to be some obstacle, something in the way. If you look along that and can't find it, can't figure out what's going on, we would be happy to get on the phone and look through that more specifically. But one of the best things to do is just take a voltmeter and go along that circuit piece by piece, check at that 2 amp fuse of the battery box, check at that 30 amp breaker of the battery box, at the post on the P1020K, which is our assembly in the battery box. Just kind of go along that circuit for the orange wire, which is going to the liftgate, for the yellow wire, which is on the tractor side, and yeah, that should be able to diagnose that from there. Next question. Have you ever seen 2 green lights on the box but the charger flashing? So I assume you mean the DC to DC box back in the battery box, that LED on there flashing orange. So I actually personally haven't seen that. I'll make a note of that and ask the guys, the other guys who are in the field if they've encountered that. I haven't personally seen that issue come up. I'm not sure if you've seen that. That may be one where Celia, I'm not sure that if their email address has come through here, but if you want to grab that email address and I'll look into that and get back with you. That's one that I personally haven't seen, but I'll check with the rest of the team. Thank you. Repairs made. So when the repair is made, is there any delay for lights going to green or instant read? So typically give it about, once you fix it, give it about 30 seconds or a minute to reboot itself and kind of figure out what's going on. The longest it'll take is a couple minutes. Sometimes if it reads that the batteries are really low or there's something going on, it'll take a couple minutes to send out that signal and kind of check on the system. It doesn't do it, every second. It's every 30 seconds, or in some cases, some systems, it's up to 2 minutes between those signals. So yeah, give it a second. It won't be instant. Testing voltage at the back of the direct box only drops to 11.8 under the 20 amp draw. The box gave indication it was below 11. Okay, so in that case, there's certain times we've seen where it drops extremely quickly and it's hard to read if you're not at a picoscope. Other times, there have been times where that may be that there's something going on in that direct controller where it's either misreading the voltage or maybe there's a short, some sort of or something within that box that's causing the misread. We've had that happen before. Just want to make sure I'm answering that question, everything correctly. Yeah, in that case, those are the only two things I could think of. Is either there's that quick dip that's dropping below that is hard to see just with the eyes, or that there may be something going on within that direct controller. That's the issue. LEDs are blue. So when the LEDs are blue, that's just typically that's it saying it's refreshing, it's restarting, and that's kind of whenever you have a system that's shut down and rebooting, or if we ever have that's kind of the deal with all our products is whenever you reset something totally brand new, or if there's been an issue and you're kind of rebooting everything, it'll flash blue for a minute, kind of let you know that it's working, it's doing its thing, but it's coming around. So usually it'll flash that way for a minute or two, to kind of make sure everything's good, check the circuit, check the system, and then move forward from there. So if that wasn't the situation, feel free to send a follow-up up there. What does the system do when a truck is putting out too high a voltage for whatever reason at the box? So our system at the battery box is regulated. It is, both temperature compensated and compensated for the voltage of the battery. So if as it sees the batteries in the Liftgate battery box getting, charged to whatever level they need to be, close to 100% or at 100%, it'll taper off the amount of power that's putting in there down to just a little float mode, which will make sure not to boil those batteries. So if we see a truck putting out very high voltage, it will take that power back to the battery box, harness it down to what it needs to, and be able to regulate it and make sure it's putting in the right amount of power. So, excuse me. I've never heard of it. I've been with us for a year, going on a year and a half, and I've never seen one be able to boil batteries or anything like that. We've got it programmed in there to have that float mode and have that regulator to make sure that it's tempering the voltage and getting you what you need. I think that's all the questions on there that I'm seeing. Hopefully I was able to answer those all for you. It's a little bit weird on here. I can't hear feedback, so hopefully those are helpful answers, and I'll make sure to follow up with you, Matthew, regarding the green lights on the front and the flashing one in the battery box, and see if anybody's ever seen that on one of theirs and what that indicates, and what could be the issue there. Yeah, so looks like that's it. Thank you everybody for joining us, and hopefully this was helpful. Hopefully it was good information and wasn't just me sitting here boring you to death. So if there's anything else I can give or help with, my information should be on the resource bar down below the screen, and I or one of our team can give you help. I will make sure to copy everybody on that answer. Definitely. Thank you. All righty. So thank you everybody very much, and I think Celia is going to take over now.